Don't forget to subscribe, unless you want to miss the moment this story turns from a lie into something much, much darker. Hit that button because after this case, you'll question every truth you've ever been told. Rain hammered against the guardrail as emergency lights flashed across the abandoned highway. At 2:14 a.m., officers were called to a stretch of Route 19 where a car sat mangled against a concrete pillar, the driver's door wide open, the interior soaked from the storm. Inside, there was no driver, no blood, no footprints, nothing but a phone left glowing on the passenger seat. On the screen was a half-typed message. "He knows I found out the truth. If something happens to me." It ended there. Detective Mara Kelson stepped out of her cruiser and took a slow breath. She'd been on the job long enough to understand when a scene didn't add up, and this one felt staged, like a half-built set. The car wasn't positioned naturally. The impact marks didn't match the trajectory. And that message, typed but never sent, looked like someone wanted it to be found. The missing woman was Emily Corwin, a 31-year-old data analyst known for her meticulous habits. She didn't drink. She didn't drive late.
She didn't vanish.
And she certainly didn't leave cryptic warnings on her phone. But the most unsettling part wasn't the message. It was the name discovered at the bottom of her call history. T. Redden. A man detectives knew very well. Thomas Redden wasn't dangerous in the traditional sense. He wasn't violent, erratic, or known for aggressive outbursts. He was dangerous because he was a liar, the kind who didn't lie to avoid trouble but lied because it was easier than telling the truth. To everyone. About everything. His job, his past, his age, his relationships. Nothing about his life remained stable longer than 3 months. Detective Kelson had crossed paths with him once during a fraud investigation that led nowhere because every statement he made contradicted the last. He wasn't skilled at lying, just relentless. He drowned investigators in contradictions until they walked away exhausted. And now Emily Corwin had disappeared after contacting him. Mara scanned the car again. The rain washed away most of the evidence, but one thing stayed intact: a receipt tucked between the seat and the console. It was from a cafe downtown, time-stamped 6 hours before the crash. 2 drinks. 1 sandwich. Paid under the name Thomas R. It wasn't much, but it was a start. The cafe's security camera footage revealed something stranger than expected. Emily sat by the window at 7:31 p.m., nervously twisting her ring. 2 minutes later, Thomas entered, wearing a jacket too big for him, scanning the cafe like a man determined to pretend he belonged. Emily slid a flash drive across the table. Thomas stared at it, then at her. Their conversation had no audio, but Emily's expressions told the story: frustration, disbelief, then fear. At 7:46 p.m., Emily stood abruptly, grabbing her purse. Thomas reached for her arm, then stopped. She said something sharp, accusatory. He froze. She left. Thomas stayed behind for nearly half an hour, pacing, pulling at his hair, checking the window repeatedly. Then he left. Mara replayed the footage 6 times. A flash drive. A panicked meeting. A woman who vanished hours later. And the last person she saw was a man who could barely tell his own birthday correctly. The next morning, 2 patrol officers found Thomas walking along the river trail, hands shoved into his pockets, drenched as if he'd been caught in the storm for hours. He didn't resist when they approached. He simply offered a tired smile. "I was wondering when you'd come," he said. Detective Kelson arrived 15 minutes later. Thomas sat on a bench, hair plastered to his forehead, shaking from the cold or the nerves, or both. "What happened to Emily Corwin?" she asked. Thomas blinked rapidly. "Emily? Why does everyone keep asking me about Emily? You had coffee with her last night." A flicker of recognition crossed his face.
Oh, right. Yes, Emily.
She asked me for help. With what? She didn't say. "You're lying," Mara said calmly. No, I'm not. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I'm trying to remember everything correctly. That's the problem, Thomas. You never do. He sighed heavily, rubbing his face. "Look, she told me she had something important. Something that could ruin her career. Or save it. I can't remember which." What was on the flash drive? Thomas looked around nervously. She didn't give it to me. You're sure? He hesitated, always a bad sign. I think so. I don't know. Maybe she did. Mara clenched her jaw. Talking to Thomas was like trying to grab smoke with bare hands. Where did you go after she left the cafe? I stayed. Then I went home. Anyone who can confirm that? No, he said quickly. I live alone. Did Emily contact you after you two met? Thomas paused. His breathing quickened. I think she called, no, texted. Actually, maybe she didn't. I'm confused. Mara leaned in. Thomas, did you see Emily after she left that cafe? His mouth opened.
Closed.
Opened again. I don't think so, he whispered. You don't think. He swallowed hard. And then he said it. Softly. Quietly. Almost too quietly to hear. I never meant for her to fall. Mara froze. What did you just say? Thomas looked horrified, as if he'd heard the words for the first time himself. He shook his head violently.
No. No.
That came out wrong. That's not. I didn't mean. What do you mean fall, Thomas? I don't know. I didn't say that. You misheard. I heard you clearly. No, please, you're twisting it. I didn't push anyone. I didn't hurt. Who fell? He buried his face in his hands. I swear, I don't know why I said that. But Detective Kelson knew exactly why. Liars slip. Habitual liars slip more. But serial liars? They slip in ways that incriminate them. And this slip was seismic. The forensic team searched the river trail an hour later, fanning out across the muddy banks. They found nothing, no clothing, no footprints, no signs of a body. But at the cafe, the owner handed Mara a small plastic bin containing items left behind the night before. A scarf, 2 receipts, a stray earring, and at the bottom, a flash drive. Unlabeled. Cold. Waiting. Mara's pulse quickened as she snapped on gloves and held it to the light. A missing woman. A liar who confessed without realizing it. A flash drive she slid across a table hours before vanishing. Everything fit, until she plugged the drive into her laptop and saw the first file, a video, dated the night Emily disappeared. Her cursor hovered over the play button. She clicked. Emily's panicked face filled the screen. Detective Kelson, she whispered, trembling. If you're watching this, he wasn't the only one lying. The video cut to black. Mara stared at the screen, breath caught in her throat, realizing the case was about to twist into something deeper, far deeper, than a serial liar's slip. And Emily Corwin wasn't just a victim. She was keeping a secret someone else would kill to protect. The video froze on Emily's terrified expression, the frame cracking with digital noise. Detective Mara Kelson leaned in, replaying the last second 3 times. The fear wasn't staged. It wasn't vague or uncertain. It was the kind of fear people felt when they realized someone close to them was watching, listening, waiting for them to slip. But the final line was what made her jaw tighten. He wasn't the only one lying. Her mind instantly replayed her conversation with Thomas Redden on the river trail. His accidental confession. The panic in his eyes when he realized what he'd said. The way he looked over his shoulder again and again, as if expecting someone else to step out of the trees. Someone he feared more than the police. Someone who knew what Emily discovered. Mara ejected the flash drive and slid it into an evidence bag. Whatever Emily had uncovered wasn't just about Thomas. It involved someone else. Someone she trusted enough to fear. And that meant Emily's disappearance wasn't a simple case of confrontation gone wrong. It was a cover-up. The investigative unit swarmed the station as the video circulated among the team. Maps unfolded. Whiteboards filled with scribbled names, timelines, connections. Emily Corwin, detail-oriented, private, and known for absolute precision, had left almost no digital footprint behind. No diary entries. No confessions to friends. No sudden arguments, no social media meltdowns, no record of threats. Except for Thomas. He was the obvious suspect. The easy suspect. But easy suspects didn't leave cryptic warnings on flash drives. Start digging into everyone around her, Mara ordered. Family, coworkers, supervisors, neighbors. Anyone she may have spoken to. Someone else is in this. Her partner, Detective Avery Locke, frowned. You think there's another suspect? I think Emily spelled it out for us. Avery opened the case folder. What about the missing car door footprints? The staged crash scene? Thomas's confession? Mara shook her head. Thomas Redden can't stage a crime scene this clean. He can barely stage a sentence. Avery smirked. True. Find the real architect, Mara said. Because Emily didn't send that video to protect Thomas. She sent it to warn us. The first real lead emerged from Emily's workplace, Braywood Analytics, a data security firm known for handling private corporate information. The company's building was a glass and steel monolith that looked more like a tech fortress than an office. Mara and Avery met with the company's security director, a lean man named Grant Holden whose handshake felt rehearsed. Emily was one of our best, Holden said as he guided them through a pristine hallway.
Sharp.
Quiet. Always early. Never unprepared. His footsteps echoed against the polished floors. We were devastated to hear she's missing. Mara studied his face. His expression was perfect. Too perfect. What exactly did Emily do here? She asked. She was on our audit team. She checked data logs for irregularities, potential breaches, internal mistakes, routine, really. Anything unusual recently? Avery asked. Holden's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly.
No.
Everything was normal. Mara paused. You hesitated. I did not. You did, she repeated calmly. Holden shifted his stance, a subtle defensive posture. Look, she did mention something odd last week. A corrupted folder that shouldn't have existed. But when I checked it myself, it was nothing. Just trash data. Show us, Mara said. Holden nodded reluctantly and led them to a digital workstation. He pulled up the logs.
Mara leaned in. What she saw made her stomach twist.
The folder Emily flagged wasn't trash. It was a collection of erased access logs. Someone had been inside the company's most sensitive database at least 6 times in the past month. Someone with high-level clearance. Holden. Back at the station, Thomas Redden sat alone in interview room 3. His foot tapped rapidly. His breathing was fast, uneven. When Mara stepped inside, he flinched. I didn't do anything, he blurted. I swear I didn't. That video, whatever she said, I didn't hurt her. Sit. Mara ordered gently. He sank into the chair. Thomas, she said, her tone softer than before. Think carefully. What was Emily investigating? I don't know. You do, she pressed. You told her something. Something she thought connected you to the truth. Thomas grabbed his hair, pulling at it. I lied to her, he admitted. Okay? I lied about knowing things at her job. I lied about working in cybersecurity. I lied that I could help her. Why? Because she looked desperate, he whispered. And when people are desperate, they listen. Mara didn't interrupt. She said she found data that shouldn't exist, he continued shakily. She thought someone in her company was stealing classified information. She asked me what to do. I didn't know what to say. I made something up. I thought it was harmless. It wasn't harmless, Mara said. I know, he muttered. She realized I lied and she got angry. She said I made everything worse. A tear slid down his cheek. And then she left, he whispered. That was the last time I saw her. I swear it. Mara believed him. But there was something else she needed. Thomas, she said carefully, when you said, I never meant for her to fall. What were you talking about? His eyes widened. I don't know. It just came out. Words don't just come out, she said softly. Not like that. He shook his head repeatedly. It's like I remembered something I didn't say. Or something someone else said. That made Mara's pulse spike. Someone else? Thomas swallowed. Emily told me someone was following her. Someone she worked with. Someone who hid behind the truth. That's what she said. Who? Mara pressed. He trembled. She didn't tell me. Mara stood abruptly. Because she already knew. Grant Holden. The man who tried too hard to look calm. The man who claimed the corrupted files were meaningless. The man who had the clearance to erase logs. The man Emily feared. At 9:17 p.m., a patrol car arrived at Holden's house, a quiet two-story home with perfect landscaping and lights glowing in every window. Too many lights. Holden's car sat in the driveway, but his front door was slightly open. Mara drew her flashlight, pushing the door with the back of her hand. The house was silent. Too silent. Avery swept the living room while Mara moved toward the hallway. That's when she saw it. A single muddy footprint on the polished hardwood floor. Small. Feminine.
Fresh.
Emily. Mara called quietly. No answer. She followed the footprint trail to a locked door at the end of the hall. A basement. Her pulse hammered in her ears. Avery, she whispered. Get over here. They forced the door open. A cold draft hit them. The basement stairs descended into darkness. And somewhere below, something moved. Breathing. Shuffling.
Weak.
Alive. Mara raised her flashlight, chest tight. Emily, she called again, voice trembling despite her control. And then she heard it. A soft, hoarse whisper rising from the shadows. You're too late. The whisper drifted up the basement stairs like a breath from the grave. You're too late. Mara froze. Avery reached instinctively for his gun, but Mara lifted her hand. Wait. That voice wasn't Emily's. It was male.
Calm.
Almost satisfied. Holden. Of course he was here. But the footprint trail leading downward was still Emily's. That meant there were two people in the basement, one capable of whispering threats, and one struggling to stay alive. Mara clicked on her flashlight, its beam cutting into the suffocating dark. Grant Holden, she called steadily. This is Detective Kelson with Braywood PD. Come up the stairs with your hands where I can see them. Silence. Then the same calm voice floated upward. You're standing in the wrong place. Avery tensed. What does that mean? A metallic snap echoed from below. A trap. Move, Mara shouted. They lunged backward just as a violent mechanical crack tore through the staircase. Several steps splintered inward, collapsing into jagged shards. Anything or anyone standing on them would have been swallowed whole. Holden had prepared this. He knew they were coming. He expected them, and he wanted to slow them down. Mara aimed her flashlight, lighting the jagged hole. The staircase was damaged, but not beyond use. They could descend with caution, but it was riskier now, especially with a man who clearly planned every inch of this basement. Avery looked at her. We going in? We don't have a choice. They descended, stepping on the edges of intact wood. The air grew colder with each step, heavy with damp concrete, and something else, fear. The basement was larger than expected, stretching into 3 dim corridors. The walls were lined with soundproofing foam. A camera blinked in the far corner, red light flickering like a heartbeat. A recording studio?
No.
More like an interrogation room. Avery's gaze swept the space. This guy didn't just plan something, he lived down here. Mara's flashlight paused on a heavy steel door slightly ajar. Behind it, she heard breathing, ragged, strained. Emily, she whispered. As they approached, another voice echoed from the darker end of the basement. Careful, detectives. People don't make rational decisions when they're desperate. Holden's voice, closer now. He was moving in the dark, watching them, playing with them. Mara pushed open the steel door first. Inside was a small room, a concrete floor, a single chair, and on it, Emily Corwin.
Alive. Barely.
Her hands were zip-tied, her face pale and streaked with dried tears. But she lifted her head when she saw the flashlight. Detective, she rasped. Mara hurried to her side as Avery kept watch out the doorway. You're safe. We've got you. Emily shook her head weakly. He's still here. He doesn't let anything go. Mara gently cut the ties. Emily flinched, muscles stiff and bruised from hours, or days, of containment. Why did he take you? Mara asked. Emily swallowed painfully. Because I found out what he was doing. Stealing company data? Emily nodded weakly. And selling it. Not just any data, classified, high-level corporate leaks. She coughed, breath unsteady. But I saw something I shouldn't have. One of the buyers. Holden panicked. Thought I'd tell someone. So, he abducted you? Emily shook her head again. He wanted me to vanish. And he needed someone to blame. Mara understood instantly. Thomas Redden. The liar. The perfect scapegoat. Holden manipulated Emily into confronting him, knowing Thomas's behavior would confuse the investigation. A serial liar was easy to misinterpret. Easy to frame. Emily's voice cracked. He followed me the night I disappeared. He staged the crash. He dragged me here. And he's been watching you the whole time. Avery glanced around the basement warily. Where the hell is he now? Holden answered from the darkness. His silhouette stepped out from behind a support beam, the faint light glinting off the metal object in his hand. A remote. If I press this, he said calmly, you'll never make it back up those stairs alive. Mara stepped in front of Emily, gun raised. Put it down, Grant. Holden smiled. You're the first detective who ever bothered to look past the obvious answer. I respect that. Put the remote down, Mara repeated. You see, he continued, ignoring her. Emily was smart enough to uncover the truth. But she made one mistake. She believed someone would protect her. Someone like you. He tapped the remote. A low hum vibrated through the floor. Stop. Mara snapped. Holden tilted his head, eyes sharp. This basement is wired with two failsafes. One collapses the stairs. The other collapses the ceiling. Emily's voice broke. He'll kill all of us. No, Holden said. Just the people who don't understand what the truth really costs. Mara steadied her aim. You're done. Drop it now. Holden paused. Then, unexpectedly, he sighed. That's the problem with playing the long game, he said. Eventually, someone ruins it. He tossed the remote to the floor. Avery lunged forward, kicking it away. Holden raised his hands slowly. For a moment, just a moment, it seemed like it was over. Until Holden whispered, checkmate. He flicked something small from his sleeve, a second trigger. Mara fired. The shot tore through Holden's shoulder, sending the device clattering from his hand before he could press it. He staggered back, blood slicking his shirt, eyes wide with shock. You weren't supposed to, he gasped. Mara stepped forward. You built this place to control every outcome. But you forgot one thing. Holden wheezed, sinking to his knees. What? People don't always do what you predict. Avery cuffed him as he collapsed. An hour later, emergency teams swarmed Holden's property. Emily was escorted to an ambulance. Technicians disarmed the basement triggers. Holden was transported under guard, rambling about ruined plans and broken patterns. Thomas Redden was cleared that same night, and Mara stood outside the house, staring up at the dark windows. A liar had accidentally revealed the truth. A detective followed a trail that wasn't meant to exist. And a man who lived in the shadows finally stepped into the light. But one thing stayed with her. The flash drive Emily left behind. Her final words. He wasn't the only one lying. Mara played the video one last time before heading home. Something in Emily's eyes shifted. A new fear. A new realization. A hint at something bigger. Something unfinished. And Mara understood. This wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning.